Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt that you suck at chess? Well, we have Kasparov to show us the right way, although we probably could never learn how he plays chess. Well, we're gonna start today with one of Kasparov's best games against Veselin Topalov in the 1999 Immortal game. It's named his Immortal game because it's his best game of his whole life. So let's begin. Kasparov starts with e4. He's won many games with this kind of opening. Like, he loves to attack and he loves open games. I suggest that all the beginners out there should also consider e4 as their main opening, since it gives all beginners chances to attack their opponent and gain an easy advantage. But that's not our topic for today. So instead of going for the main lines, Topalov decides to go for a major sideline. This is the perk defense. Don't ask me why it's named that. It is the perk defense. Basically, black is going to try to get a king's Indian setup, which is like this, but it's a bit. No, this isn't even so anything. I suck at chess too. Where black is going to attempt to develop his pieces. By the way, I'm just playing random moves. And he's gonna try to strike in the center with this powerful pawn break in the center. Basically, black won't try to take center space as a regular beginner should play with e5. Instead, black wants to, well, play a hyper-modern opening where he decides to develop with the pieces first instead of the pawns in the center. So, Topalov continues with the regular line. This is a very instructional move, as you should always take the center if you can with two pawns. So knight f6, as we saw earlier. Knight to c3, g6, bishop to e3, bishop to g7, queen to d2. Now this is one of the most common aggressive setups against the King's Indian type setup. White wants to play bishop to h3, trade the dark square bishop, and attack with h4 and h5. So, for example, if black castles here, you never want to take here, since you're just inviting the queen to destroy your position. h4 and h5 is just immediately destroying black here. I'm bad with arrows. So instead, maybe he'll play something like this. But this is usually scary. Like, this is really bad. I don't know what I'm doing, but like, still, this is pretty scary. And maybe, I'm not suggesting now, but sacrificing the rook to open up the king is also a plan in some positions for white. So, uh, yeah. So here, Topalov plays an interesting idea, which I imagine he prepared. c6 plans to attack the queen side. Those are different colors. You're not a perfectionist. So, and instead, and if white goes with his regular plan, like h4 along castles, black will gain counterplay against the center and also take the bishop. So a regular plan here is f3 or h3 to prevent this. Let's say queen b6, castles. And now, black will potentially move his knight, probably not there, with a discovery attack, not really an attack, but in the future it could be an attack. And this d4 pawn is going to take a lot of pressure. The reason why this isn't really a main line is because it really wastes time, and knight c6 is a major option in some lines for black. And with c6, you're probably not going to play c5 or d5. So it's not such a good idea. But it is not proven to be exploited. So f3, we see the same plan. b5, which is pretty interesting. But black also would like to gain counterplay, since we know that white in this kind of setup with queen d2 is not going to try to castle short. Because the problem with castling short now is that black will gain huge counterplay on the queen side. But if he castles long, which happens, it doesn't happen actually, then black will attempt to attack white on the queen side and try to create some counterplay. So now it becomes a fierce attacking game where both players are attacking on both sides. So instead of this, Kasparov goes with a more subtle approach, not committing his king. An interesting idea here is actually keeping your king in the center, which Kasparov is thinking of. He plays the regular idea with bishop h6, takes. Taking here is also, I believe, it's probably fine for a grandmaster, but this isn't such a good move, because now Kasparov has full control of this kingside, and Topalov can no longer actually castle. So, but I also want to mention that castling here is not optimal, as this runs straight into an attack. Not like that. Yeah, no, okay. Straight into an attack where white, it's just not comfortable for black to run into this attack. White will likely continue with g4, h5, g5, and will attempt to roll black's position. Bishop takes h6 happens in the game. Queen takes h6, bishop to b7, a3. Now here we have a prophylactic move. Kasparov wants to stop any queenside action immediately with b4, but Topalov will likely play a5 to play b4. So I also want to mention that the immediate queen to g7 looks really scary. But as you can notice here, nothing is actually hanging. Black cannot castle, but he didn't intend to castle there anyway and run straight into any sort of attack. So white, it's really scary, but white doesn't have any counterplay. And he just wasted a move. You can just continue with your plans, like a5, that's a really bad move. Like a5 or something. And now white is having troubles, or maybe b4 even. Because white did absolutely nothing. So this move isn't really scary here. So I can't move somehow. Okay. So Topalov plays this move to strike in the center. It's kind of a risky move. I would not recommend this move for Topalov because, well, for beginners, for Topalov, it's a good move. But essentially, what black is trying to do is he's trying to take advantage of this slightly misplaced queen, which can't do any damage, and he's going to try to continue his attack on the queen side, which with this plan has really Now, Topalov castles, which is still a slightly risky decision, though castling always is good. He risks some win I mean, he like it's kind of dangerous because this attack is scary. I would not recommend it for a intermediate or beginner player, as you're likely gonna get rolled. But I don't think an intermediate or beginner player is gonna get into this type of position unless you play a really weird open, which I did. But okay. So Topalov defends his position and is trying to scare Kasparov because it's not very clear if he wants to castle long now because all his pawns are advanced, and generally when your pawns are advanced you don't really want to castle that direction, though it is of course an interesting idea which Topalov can play. And now a typical Sicilian move, even though it's not a Sicilian. By the way, for newbies, this is the Sicilian. Yes, indeed. It's very surprising. So, what White essentially wants to do here is that what happens is that this knight here is kind of misplaced, right? So, and this knight isn't really doing anything. The action is on the queen side. If the knight wants to go to the king side, like here, it really can't do any damage since black's king is probably going to castle away if black attempts any kingside attack with h4, h5. Therefore, it's best to reroute the knight over to g3, where it defends this pawn and has ideas of sneaking in into a5, where it attacks the bishop and the pawn. So let's just say like black is really stupid. He's having he needs help. He needs mental help. So bop, 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 bop. And this is a problem. He just has this is so stupid. Okay. So here. And now actually, if black doesn't want to lose a pawn, he'll have to defend the bishop. And now, nah. I mean, for me, a move like this would be good. And now, white is actually gonna completely roll black's position with a fork, and he's kind of cooked. So, we're gonna get rid of all those arrows. Please go away. I don't like you. Okay, whatever. So, Topalov plays a6. He simply secures his b5 pawn from any threats. It's kind of a prophylactic move. In knight to c1, we see this plan in action. Castles, long castles. I think this is a bit premature. I think Topalov should have kept his king in the center, since white hasn't really displayed any attacking intentions. He's simply maneuvering his knight. And as we can see, Kasparov is trying to play on the queen side. And actually, surprisingly, this queen side castling is actually what really causes all this fuss over this immortal game. So, knight to b3, e d4, rook d4, and now we go into the beautifulness. Not now, but like a bit later. So he backs up, knight to b6. It's a normal move. The recap of these few moves. Black opening up the center to try to create some counterplay with c5. And he opens up his bishop, but Kasparov makes sure this bishop bites into a pawn chain, where it does absolutely nothing. He likely would try to follow up with knight b6 and king b8, as happens in the game. Unfortunately, we don't get to see his plan. Likely, it was something with e5, d5, which is still a good move here. So bishop a8. These are all regular moves, though it's kind of interesting that Kasparov, he didn't, such a grandmaster, didn't actually play d5, which I played. I'm better than a grandmaster, obviously. Though potentially maybe he was scared of this. I don't know why I would be scared of that, but he maybe is. Maybe he's just a scaredy cat. I just went, okay. Okay. And now some stuff happens. I just can't wait. I'm looking at stuff. Okay. Kasparov takes the whole diagonal beautifully. And now Black's king is actually kind of stuck. His squares are taken away. Though white doesn't have really a good way to attack him since his queen is all the way down here and is doing absolutely nothing. But actually, this is a mistake since Topalov now has the chance to strike in the center with a d5 idea. It was probably better to pin the pawn with queen to f4. And also, you can't move the pawn now because the king would hang. With all these diagonals, it's kind of hard to see. So, Kasparov probably thought he gets a tempo. But this really, he developed his rook on the 21st move. But he is threatening the pawn right now since the rook would attack the pawn. d4. Topalov doesn't allow this, of course, and he is opening up the sniper a bit, though it's not doing anything. So Topalov tries to open up the center and avoid inactivity, though, and it's not really causing him anything. So d5, d5 attacking the queen, bishop d6, and a normal human here would play something like knight to c3. But no, Kasparov is not a regular human. What is happening? Kasparov is literally an alien. Bop. He sacrifices the rook. This sacrifice really isn't that surprising to me. It's kind of obvious. Takes. Maybe not for you guys, but like Bop, he just loses life. If he blocks with the bishop, he's cooked. Free bishop. Now it is sort of hard. I acknowledge it is hard to see here that rook to. Oh my god, bro. So that. Oh my god, stupid thing. I hate chess plays now. Like maybe you couldn't see that. I'm just stupid. I just can't see. Okay, whatever. Like here, it's really interesting how there's absolutely nothing for Black to do. But Topalov isn't a regular human. Kasparov isn't a regular human being. And he sacrifices two rooks in two moves. Oh yeah, and also I want to mention that I suck at chess because this wins for white. This actually wins because white's queen is hanging, and if he takes, he's just down material after king takes. So I'm bad at chess. And so the follow-up here is interesting because a regular human being would play queen to d4. And Topalov probably saw this and said, oh, Kasparov is losing. But Kasparov is crazy. He sacrifices a second rook to deflect the queen. Now, oh yeah, and I also want to mention if you take this rook, there's actually a mate in 4 here. Take. You have to move back. Check. You have to move here. Check. You wait, I don't even know. Let's checkmate. Wait, what? Let me just see. Oh yeah. So let's say like just do this. Check mate. Mate. It's literally mate. So king to b6 is played instead. Queen takes, sacrificing the knight, by the way. But this sacrifice is easier to see since you're luring the king. You've already sacrificed a rook. I mean, it doesn't matter how much material you sacrifice. You have to have a mate somewhere. And bop, he takes. b4. King to a4. Wait, one sec. No, I mean, this is just crazy. Topalov's king is on a4. I don't think he can survive here, but queen b3 is mate. It's literally mate. Queen takes d5. Topalov prevents this. By the way, this looks more natural, but this actually loses because there's a pawn mate. There's a pawn mate. I don't know what's happening at this point. If you play like this, then sadly there is here. And queen is pinned. You lost the game. Good job. So rook to a7? You might think this is nothing. I mean, yeah. And now bishop b7 to protect that. They might think like, maybe I should sack, which is actually a good move. I know I'm crazy. Take. And now you can just accept the draw. This is actually an important resource White has. But Kasparov ain't going for any draw here. You don't even see the draw. He sacrifices the rook again. This man's crazy. Well, he's still down a rook. Queen to c4, offering queen trade. Of course you can't take, because you're down a rook. You're down a full rook. He takes on f6, as that's a reasonable choice. And this king is on a3. What else can I say? Check. This looks like mate, but actually there's no forced mate here, which is really interesting. So c3 is important. You need to lure the king out from the a3 square. So you can play queen to a3, check. Or queen to a1, I'm stupid. And now, actually, his king is on d1. This is just crazy. His king is on d1. Bishop to f1. I don't know what's happening. Take, check, check, mate. Bishop to f1. Rook to d2, only move. He has to prevent the mate. Rook to d7. You can take the bishop. No, that's mate. I don't even know at this point. And also, by the way, if you're greedy, this looks decent, but first Kasparov doesn't want to draw. I hope I made that clear. It is a draw though, in theory. But he wants to win, so he's going for the kill. Now it's an easy victory. I mean, 99% of the people you will face will not be able to play like this. But the only thing Topalov has here is his C pawn, which he needs to promote in order to win. And with his king, I just want to mention, just look at his king from the beginning of his from the beginning of this game. I'm just gonna scroll through the game once. The king moves castles b8, a7, c7, all the way to a5, blah 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 blah. The king is on d1. It made a journey of 8 squares, and it took the long way. But Topalov actually doesn't have counterplay, but he's trying his best. It's all that matters. But here, Topalov just resigns. You might think, oh wait, this wins. You just lost the game. Good job. And like, but he is the pass pawn. Like check. Check. You just lost the pawn. Like, I don't know what to do. Okay, you just lost your life. And actually, this is Zook swung, by the way. If you move, the only way to survive is to move your queen, and then you die. You move h6, doesn't matter. Well, it's not really Zook swung, but queen to a5, and black resigns. Thank you for your viewership. Don't like and don't subscribe, and thank you.